so next up we're going to talk about doing a sketch. So let me make sure I have my sketching pen in here. Oh, I don't see it. It might be over in, oh, there it is. Alright, Blackstone Valley Art Association has done a number of sketching projects. They're a lot of fun. You can use any sort of thing to sketch with. You can sketch with pencil or pen or other things. I like to sketch with, this one happens to be a jelly roll, but the main thing is that this is a water resistant sketch pen. So let's say that I drew on here with a non-water resistant pen and then I started painting over it. Because I'm painting with water, the water would squish the pen like mascara and put black all over the place, which was probably not the intention of what I'm going for. So if you find any sort of water resistant pen, that means that when you draw something and then you paint over it, the pen stays still. It stays just like this pencil. When I painted over the pencil didn't move. So if you're doing something with watercolors and with pen, you want a water resistant, waterproof pen to draw with. And heck, you can draw with Sharpie. You can draw with whatever you want to. And we just had a pastel workshop where the person teaching the workshop drew with Sharpie first and then did pastels over it, and it came out beautifully. So be open to trying any sort of different combination of ideas that seems to strike your fancy. So I'm going to find my watercolor paper again. Oh, here it is. Oh, I'm down to the last piece. Alright, so I'm using Artist Loft. I think that's the Michaels brand, their default brand. Any watercolor paper, Job Lot, all those kinds of things have it. So, very last piece in this pack. Alright. Peel off the little bit of gooey stuff. I held it to the cardboard. Alright. So, when you are sketching, a general idea for many sketchers, although not all, you can always do whatever style you want to. It is your sketch, you can do it how you wish. But a trend in sketching is to do things quick and fast. And many people who are planning on doing other kinds of painting, like oil painting or acrylic painting or something that's going to take a long time, will go to a place and will sketch it in person. So like they'll go to this church and sit in front of the church and they will sketch it quickly. And then that way they can go back to their studio, to their house, and take the hours and hours of painting it. And especially with oil painting, there's all these different layers. So you paint a set of layers and then you let it dry overnight. And then the next day you paint some more layers on it and you let it dry. It's a multi-day, multi-week process. So you generally aren't able to sit in front of the place day after day because rain comes and all sorts of other things comes. So it works better to do a sketch while you're there and then work based on that sketch. So the sketch shows you the shape and where the shadows are and where the colors are. So by its nature, a sketch is quick and casual. It's not meant to be a finished product, although in many cases a sketch can be very pretty as a finished product. But the idea of the sketch is to give you a starting point. And yes, you could take a picture of it, but a picture often doesn't represent well what you're after. You know, if you wanted to, like this picture has a house there. So if you didn't want to have the house in your finished painting, you could sketch in the church and just some bushes, and that way you would know what you are aiming for in your final picture. Or if you wanted this, instead of being green, to be nice red for autumn or something like that, you could sketch that all in the way that you are intending to paint it later, and then that way your sketch serves as a more accurate model for what your intention is for it. So when you're sketching, you are not thinking necessarily about perfection. You are thinking about doing it quick and giving you the feel that you need to work with to be able to then represent it later. So those are multiple different ways of thinking of the sketching process. So again, some people think of sketches as a disposable stepping stone towards their final image, but sketches can also be beautiful in their own right, and many people just love the sketches. And I suppose if you go to the Gardner Museum in Boston or the Museum of Fine Arts or so on, you'll see lots of sketches on display, and it could be that the artist was only intending them to be a throwaway thing that they were using to get the pose of a dancer's body or something like that, but the sketches end up being beautiful in their own right. So I will say that I am not great at straight lines, which is why I like to do illustrated things like my mouse and so on, where I have more flexibility. But Vern chose to do this church, so I want to do my part and show how one would sketch such a thing. So, deep breath. This will be what it will be. We're giving you an idea of the process, and if you are a better sketcher than I am, then that is wonderful. It would not be that hard to be a better sketcher than I am, but I will show you what I can show you. Okay, so we got a side there, we got a roof there. See, this whole perspective thing, with everything seeming like it's not quite at the right angle, but we're giving this a shot. And you can always take pictures too as your guidelines. So you take a bunch of pictures and then you do your sketch, and your sketch is helping you keep track of colors that you like, the shadows that you like, that sort of stuff. So if you can make your sketch very accurate, then that's a lovely thing, and that's extra useful. But if you are new to sketching, as I am, that's okay. The aim here is to practice and learn and develop your skills. And if you have shaky hands like I do, you do the best that you can. And that is fine. Like I said, normally I am not the type of person to be doing very straight-edged kinds of things. But that is fine. We all go out of our comfort zones, and that's how we learn and grow. If it ends up being that you don't happen to like things with straight lines, that's okay too. It's good to try different things. Alright. Oh, see, I'm not going to run out of room for the steeple. I drew it too big for the space I had available because I was so focused on this church thing and didn't put it in the bottom half. Alright, well, we're going to draw as much as we can draw. That is okay. Steeple is going to go off the top. Alright. Further, nope, see, it's not coming out even. You are sketching. Sketch is casual. Sketch is okay. Yeah, so the top is going to go off. That's alright. That's alright. The more one practices, the more one learns. Alright, we got the column things coming down here. We got the front of the building coming like this. And like this. And also I'm trying to draw this sort of sideways to keep this underneath the area here. That's alright. Everything is fine. Got the little house over here. It's a little roof. Got the chimney. It comes out about there. Alright, tree thing has windows. Alright, bush thing over here. Alright, it's got that. The circle. Edge things there. So the idea when you're sketching is not to put in every tiny little detail. It's just to put in the basic things so you remember what you are working with. And yes, it would have been nice if I actually fit the steeple on the top. But that is alright. Alright, roof is darker. Alright, this here has a little part there. This has a little edge part there. So if you take a picture will capture every single last detail, but not necessarily in the lighting and shading that you want. When you do your sketch, you're focusing on the main things that catch your eye. So you're not caring about some of these little details underneath this tree, whatever that is. Caring about the windows, this. Alright, now we're putting in these windows. So there's 5 across, 2 high. So they start over here. The plan is to put in the 2 edge windows. In the middle window. I can get the middle window about in the middle of those 2. And that way I could put the other 2 windows about in the middle of those 2. And that way I get them reasonably evenly centered. Now that I have those set, I can put in these windows. Alright. Alright, and once again, I don't want to draw in all 24 panes of the windows, because that would be quite a challenge. But I do want to give a sense that there are panes, that they aren't just giant stained glass blocks or something like that. I might just draw in something like that. So if you're aiming for a super realistic image, then certainly you could sit there and sketch all of the details. But the challenge often is that you don't have time to sit there for 12 hours, and even if you did sit there for 12 hours, the sun is moving and rain can come in and all sorts of other things can change how the scene is. So you want to sketch reasonably quickly and get a sense of what the key parts are. So for example, in this area here, there's the section with the shadow, and then the hole where you can actually see through to the sky on the other end. So you want to remember that that is there. You can see the tree. Alright, so I think I have sketched down the basics of the shapes that I want to remember. And again, granted, I don't have things very straight in some areas, and that's fine, because if I really want to be picky about that sort of thing, then I have the pictures to use as a model and can work on that when I have more time. But I want to give a sense of the key features that drew my eye that I want to be thinking about when I am doing my painting. So it's sort of a visual notebook. Instead of having to remember, oh, I really like this hole, or I really like the way that the windows are spaced, or something like that. You do a quick sketch, and then when you look at it later, you say, oh, that's right, I really liked how the window was laid out. Alright, so for the sketching part, you want any pen or pencil and any sort of paper, if your only purpose is to do the sketch. If your purpose is to do a watercolor sketch so that you have some colors in there, then you want the pen to be water resistant. Some people also sketch with colored pencils or colored pens, and those are other ways to get the color in there so that you remember what the colors were that you were interested in. And again, a reason to do it this way is that cameras are notorious for not necessarily getting the colors to match because they do things with white balance and so on. So if you have your own watercolor sets or colored pencils or something, then you can get the colors that you see that you really want to make them stand out with. And again, if you want to do something like make the tree orange because you want a fall scene, then your watercolors will be able to do that where the camera wouldn't be able to do that.